Winter weather advisories taking us through the overnight, and not just that, wind chill advisories too. Set for our cold start to our Sunday. We'll start breaking down the forecast coming up.
Plus, an area aimed to shelter Joplin's homeless population has been shut down despite low temperatures. We'll tell you why. Also,
at the start of 2022, we're not out of the woods with COVID just yet, but the peak from Omicron could be just weeks away. I'm Charles Watson in Atlanta. I'll have the details coming up.
The Pitt State women begin a 3-game road trip against Missouri Western this evening. We'll have the highlights in sports.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Happy New Year to you all. Thank you for joining us for this, the first edition of the KOAM News at 9 here in the new year. And unfortunately, 2022 starting off with a bit of a bang with these Arctic temperatures rolling in and wintry weather starting to make roads slick. We begin tonight with meteorologist Nick Kelly on what's happening right now.
Yeah, and for those that weren't familiar with that shot behind you, Chris, that's our tower cam from 7th and Rangeline, but the freezing drizzle iced it over, and we'll see if we can get some of that off by tomorrow with the returning sun. But 57 for a midnight high today, then temperatures just cratered throughout the day. And so far, the coldest temperature that we have seen so far is 20 degrees at Joplin Regional, and given the preset that moved on through today, we have been keeping an eye on road conditions, but most of southeast Kansas is actually looking okay. I mean, the crews out there doing their best to keep roads as clear as possible, but we do note a few spots like US 75 between, let's say, Neodesha and Independence, partially covered with maybe a little bit of snow, a little bit of ice, and the same goes for areas let's say on US 59 between Kincaid, Kansas, and just to the west of Hepler. That's just partial covering of the freezing drizzle and maybe some light snow flurries too. On the Missouri side, though, you can see how northern and northwestern parts of Missouri took the brunt of this winter storm. But for us, the only major road I'm seeing with any issues is 49. Across Vernon County on the Missouri side. That's just partial snow and a little bit of ice covering the roads, and not much to show from northeast Oklahoma either, except for some major roads dealing with some covered ice and snow in parts of Washington County. But in general, these winter weather advisories are sticking with us as we go into the overnight until about 6 a.m. at the latest, but the wind chill advisories are coming into play too. So not only do we have another potential band of scattered snow showers trying to roll in from the west, it's going to be downright cold tonight with temperatures, as we continue through this day planner breakdown, around 10 in Joplin, but single digits northwest of the metro. Fortunately, we're going to see the sunshine return tomorrow, and that will get us back at least into the mid-20s for highs. We'll see where we go from here on out with the full forecast coming up in a bit, Chris.
All right, Nick, thank you. As Nick mentioned, those temperatures, as they continue to drop, roads are going to begin to quickly freeze over. We spoke with officials yesterday. They urge drivers to just simply stay at home if at all possible. However, if you are traveling tonight, here's a list of where you can find the latest road condition information for wherever you're going. If you're in Missouri, you can hit up traveler.modot.org. Kansas is candrive.org. Over in Oklahoma, you can visit oklahoma.gov/ODOT. And in Arkansas, it's idrivearkansas.com. If you didn't catch all that, don't worry. We got links to all these sites on our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. They are also available in the palm of your hand with the KOAM News Now app. Well, throughout the week, we've told you about Lincoln Heights, a proposed shelter in Joplin to give hope to those experiencing homelessness. As of last night, it's been shut down right before temperatures dropped with this winter weather advisory. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky tells us why the city is shutting it down and how community organizers are reacting.
The Joplin area was under a winter weather advisory Saturday night, with temperatures dropping as low as 12 degrees. For those experiencing homelessness, it can be life or death.
Certainly there's a large concern because we have more people living on the streets in Joplin than we have available beds in our available shelters. So there will most definitely be people outside sleeping in single-digit temperatures right here in our city. That's heartbreaking.
To help more experiencing homelessness seek shelter, a temporary warming station was set up by the Old Botany Shop in Joplin. But on Friday night around 8:30 p.m., Shackles tells us members of JPD had arrived due to numerous complaints and the area was shut down.
So our hope was to secure an empty building that did not have electrical or heat as a last-ditch effort to try to keep people alive during the cold snap. Apparently, that is against some city regulations, and we have been told to cease that activity for now.
We reached out to Joplin Mayor Ryan Stanley to see why the city decided to make the move.
Well, when you're dealing with any time where you're going to house people, you've got to get a facility that is, compliant with our ordinances.
The mayor tells us the temporary shelter was not in compliance with city ordinances, like other area shelters are.
The facility does not have plumbing, which is required. And then also it's not zoned for the approval to house people. And so we would need them to come before the city with going through the zoning process, but also going through the inspection process to make sure that we are putting together safe solutions.
Now that the area is shut down, community organizers say they worry about capacity at Joplin's existing shelters and what will happen to the rest of the homeless population.
Having shelter is one of the most important things that a person can face in their entire life, and the lack of shelter can be devastating for a long time.
The city does have a temporary shelter and plans to open it up if temperatures are to drop below 0 degrees.
Our Justice Center there, right where the police department is, at 3rd in Kentucky, would be our warming center that we would open up. It wouldn't house people, but it basically would give people the ability to come in and get warm. And we will automatically open that up if we get temperatures below 0 degrees in kind of a sustained scenario, which we're not quite to yet. But I do know that the city is being proactive with our response and following our cold weather plan and policies.
But until then, the homeless population may have to look for other shelters to stay warm, which those working directly with the homeless say are full. In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Now today, community members gathered at Ewart Park in Joplin to distribute items like food and blankets to those experiencing homelessness. These items were originally going to be used for the warming shelter. Now, Mayor Stanley also said he would be willing to discuss plans for the homeless population with the organizers of the warming center. And it is the new year, so it's a tradition. We've got some new babies that are now part of the 4 states. At 7 pounds and measuring at 19.5 inches, Theory Draper is the first baby of 2022 at Freeman. She was born at 10:39 this morning. The Webb City parents, Sarah and Greg Draper, her parents tell us they chose the name Theory because it's just so unique.
I just thought it was unique. I liked it because we were pretty set on Scarlet, and then my husband brought up Theory, and I was just, I've always been one for unique names, so that's why I liked it the most.
And to go along with that, Theory has a unique spelling. It's Thyri. Freeman wasn't the only one welcoming a new year baby. Ascension Via Christi in Pittsburgh also did so. Stetson Cole Weber was born this morning at 12:33 to Hannah Walters and Seth Weber of Prescott, Kansas. Baby Stetson came in at 8 pounds, 2 ounces and 20.5 inches long. We want to congratulate all of the new parents today, starting off 2022 in the best way possible. While the new year brings a chance for new hope and new beginnings, it also is bringing a resurgence of new COVID cases, not the situation that many envisioned at this time last year. Fox News correspondent Charles Watson has the latest.
A scaled-down celebration in New York to ring in 2022 as revelers look forward to a year where they could finally put COVID in the rearview mirror.
2022, good friends, good times, no more COVID.
Just 15,000 were allowed in Times Square to watch the ball drop. Officials deciding an outdoor party of masked and vaccinated people was safe despite a recent surge in new cases.
You just see people taking a more tough approach to it. Like, yeah, I'm going to get vaccinated, but I'm not going to shut everything else down. I've got to keep moving forward. I got to make this work.
This time last year, it was hoped the arrival of vaccines might signal the end of the pandemic. But with the Omicron variant once again filling hospitals around the globe, officials are warning Americans not to let their guard down just yet.
We know that hospitalizations are putting a lot of stress on an already overtaxed healthcare system. I'm not here to say we're out of this. We are still addressing a very serious situation.
Just this week, the U.S. set new case records 3 days in a row. The CDC says the roughly 90 million Americans who are still unvaccinated remain the ones at highest risk. President Biden on New Year's Eve optimistic Americans are prepared to weather the storm.
No matter how tough the challenge, how high the obstacles, we always overcome. This virus has been tough, but we've been tougher.
Health experts are hoping we'll hit the peak of Omicron sometime in mid-January. In Atlanta, Charles Watson, Fox News.
We take this time now to honor one of our many four-state heroes. Private First Class Leonard Christensen Jr. was killed in action while serving in the Army in Vietnam. There, he earned a number of medals and commendations, including a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart, his hometown, Arma. We're proud to recognize Private First Class Leonard Christensen Jr., tonight's four-state hero. And remember, you want to learn more about other heroes? If you've got one of your own you'd like to nominate, you can do that anytime at KOAMNewsNow.com. Coming up, Israel's military says Palestinian militants in Gaza fired 2 rockets toward the Mediterranean Sea.
We have been keeping an eye on this wintry system that's been passing on through. Even though the moisture with it is long gone, we're still holding on to winter weather advisories in the blue for much of southeast Kansas up until we hit the midnight hour. But everybody else trying to hold on until 6 a.m. because of the cloud cover that's still in place, but just enough moisture for maybe a few random areas of freezing drizzle and maybe some snow showers out west trying to roll on in. Then we got this, wind chill advisories until 11 o'clock for a good portion of the area as we go into Sunday morning. But this is how we started out 2022 this go around. We had a quiet start, excuse me, to New Year's Eve the other day, but all this rain, and as the cold front worked on through, it certainly changed to a wintry mix across a good portion of the region. Not showing a whole lot in terms of really heavy precip on the radar network, but you can see out west a few bands of snow trying to make their way in. So that's something that I want to keep an eye on as we go through the next few hours, because temperatures are certainly cold enough for that batch of moisture to mainly give us a shot for maybe some very light snow or snow flurries as it rolls on in. A far different look to today as far as temperatures go compared to yesterday. We hit the mid 60s for highs to wrap up 2021, midnight highs in the upper 50s, and we've been just dropping ever since we started out with those midnight highs. Well, let's talk about road conditions, because for many of us, rain started things out, then as temperatures dropped, if any roads were still wet, we will be concerned about some slick spots, but not seeing a whole lot of slick spots in northeastern Oklahoma, with the exception of a few major roads around Bartlesville and other parts of Washington County in Oklahoma. On the Kansas side, we see US 59 between Kincaid and just to the northwest of Hepler, partially covered with some ice, maybe a little bit of snow, but the vast majority of the roads in southeast Kansas look okay. And if we check out MoDOT quickly, same story across much of the region. You can see how I-49 in Vernon County, that's the only trouble spot where some of the parts of the road might be partially covered with ice and a little bit of snow. But where you see the blues along I-70 and around the Kansas City metro, that is where the brunt of the snow and the major road problems has been. Like Chris said earlier, if you want the latest look at road conditions, we got links on our website at KOAMNewsNow.com. In the meantime, 15 in Joplin with some light snow or snow flurries and a north breeze at 13, making it feel like 1 degrees outside. Everyone is either between 10 and 18 degrees, but you throw in the wind, it already feels like 8 below in Iola, 4 in Neosho, 1 in Lamar. So it is definitely feeling like winter as we kick off 2022. But on the warm side of this Arctic front, we've got severe weather ongoing for parts of the deep south in the Tennessee Valley. For us, though, we're not dealing with any severe weather. We're just seeing high pressure really keeping us in the chill for tonight. But we're still waiting for this upper level low to clear out. It is working across the central plains. That's the same upper level low. That's going to try and bring some of these snow showers, relatively light in nature, for parts of the region. If any of them can hold together to work on through, it's not looking like a big deal. A dusting to maybe half an inch at worst. We certainly have seen worse snow amounts around here. But aside from that, mostly cloudy and downright cold with single digits on the Kansas side and around 10 for Joplin to start the morning out. But look at Sunday afternoon. We are going to see a rebound in temperatures and brighter skies by tomorrow afternoon. 10 in the morning, 20 by noon. Highs are 24, but keep in mind the windy conditions for tomorrow morning could certainly make it feel like 0 to 10 below zero before we see things improve by tomorrow afternoon. 42 Monday, 46 Tuesday, quiet for the start of the first work week around here. Then 34 Wednesday, another shot for snow potentially as we dip back into the 20s again by Thursday, Chris.
Winter has certainly settled in. It took some time, but it's finally here.
I know, after several mild weeks, it seems like Mother Nature finally got the hint.
Yeah, she did. Unfortunately, but she did. Nick, thank you so much. Well, still ahead, a state funeral for the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa. Year came in with the firing of rockets in the Middle East. Israel's military says Palestinian militants in Gaza fired 2 rockets toward the Mediterranean Sea on Saturday, setting off an explosion off the shore of Tel Aviv. Video posted on social media reportedly shows the rockets passing through the sky above southern Israel. Authorities say there were no injuries and nothing was damaged. There's no immediate claim of responsibility, and there's also been no word from Hamas, the Islamist group that rules the coastal Palestinian enclave. Hamas has occasionally test-fired rockets, launching them toward the sea. A state funeral for the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu in South Africa. Family members and close friends bid farewell to the activist at St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town. Tutu's grandchildren carried the coffin up the aisle to the altar. The Archbishop of Cape Town and the Dean of St. George's Cathedral led the service. Mourners included South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. Archbishop Tutu died last Sunday at the age of 90. His body will be cremated and his ashes interred behind the cathedral's pulpit in a private ceremony. Recovery efforts after a devastating fire will now be receiving federal aid. President Biden announcing early today his approval of a disaster declaration in Colorado. This will allow rescue workers and those recovering to receive federal funds to help push those efforts along. Thousands of people have evacuated areas to the north and south of the city of Boulder. So far, no deaths have been reported in what has been named the Marshall Fire, but an estimated 1,000 homes may have been destroyed. We'll have more on these fires in our second half hour. Up next, the new mayor of New York City takes office and sets out to make some changes. New York City's new mayor hit the ground running, taking mass transit to work on his first day in office. Mayor Eric Adams rode the subway from his Brooklyn brownstone to City Hall New Year's Day, and it wasn't without incident. He was chatting with New Yorkers while waiting for his train and noticed a fight break out nearby. So the former police officer called 911. He then went on with his day, meeting with staff members at City Hall. Adams, who replaced Mayor Bill de Blasio, is the second black mayor in New York City's history and the first former NYPD officer elected to the office. The Biden administration is dealing with a jam-packed agenda as the new year begins. The issues the White House is focusing on range from the Supreme Court looking at COVID-19 vaccine mandates to Russia massing troops along its border with Ukraine. Fox News correspondent Rich Edson takes a look.
As the holiday season finishes, officials are trying to navigate a return to work and school as this Omicron-powered surge is bringing COVID levels in the United States to unprecedented levels. Many Americans finished 2021 in long lines trying to get COVID tests. The administration is working to buy 500 million at-home tests to send out for free. It's unclear when those tests will be available. The president acknowledges he should have moved on more testing 2 months ago. The Centers for Disease Control has cut the recommended isolation period from 10 days to 5, as long as those with the virus have no symptoms, as this latest surge leads to staff shortages across the economy. The administration also has several upcoming court challenges. A federal judge blocked mask and vaccine mandate in Texas's Head Start program. The Friday ruling means the case likely continues in the federal court system. This Friday, the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear challenges to the Biden administration's vaccine or testing mandates for employees of larger companies and certain healthcare workers. The president faces challenges abroad as well. Russia has massed tens of thousands of troops along the border with Ukraine and appears poised to invade the country for the second time in 8 years. In a phone call Thursday with Russian President Vladimir Putin, the White House says President Biden warned unprecedented sanctions in response.
If he makes any more moves to goes into Ukraine, we will have severe sanctions.
Senior Russian and American officials are scheduled to meet in a week and a half in Geneva to discuss these security issues. Senior White House officials say they do not expect Presidents Biden and Putin to be directly involved in those conversations. In Wilmington, Delaware, Rich Edson, Fox News.
Coming up, we're going to wrap up this half hour of the news at 9 by heading to France as a man takes on a rather daunting task. An elderly Frenchman sets sail on a canoe to kick off the new year and a special birthday. Jean-Jacques Savin began his solo journey New Year's Day paddling out of Sagres, Portugal. Now he's attempting to reach the Caribbean after 90 days of paddling for 8 to 10 hours a day. The former soldier from Arras, France, is traveling aboard a 26-foot-long canoe. He stocked it with over 650 pounds of supplies, including a bottle of champagne, with plans to pop the cork on January 14th to celebrate his 75th birthday and hopefully a successful voyage. He's got a lot more stamina than I do. We got 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way if you've got the stamina for it. Coming up, the chair of the FDIC says she's resigning. Plus, just weeks after Kentucky is ravaged by severe weather and tornadoes, Mother Nature hits the state again. Also, nearly 24 people trapped on a tram in New Mexico finally rescued. And
officials fear the worst in the search for several missing people in the aftermath of devastating wildfires. I'm Jeff Paul in Louisville, Colorado. I've got the details coming up.
The chair of the FDIC, who was appointed by former President Donald Trump, sent in her resignation on Friday. Jelena McWilliams, the chair of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, was the sole remaining Republican on the 5-member board. Although she did not mention in her resignation, she had previously accused Democrats of a, quote, hostile takeover in a December Wall Street Journal op-ed. The FDIC denied a request for comment about that or her resignation, which is effective February the 4th. The independent agency is responsible for ensuring deposits for U.S. banks. The next FDIC chair is expected to be Democrat Martin Gruenberg, who would likely be more supportive of President Biden's regulatory agenda. Well, 2022 started off a lot like the end of 2021 for Kentucky, with severe weather destroying property and knocking out power. A tornado touchdown was reported in Hopkinsville, causing extensive damage to downtown businesses. Governor Andy Beshear declared a state of emergency Saturday because of the weather system that threatened the state. Some of the areas in western Kentucky which were hard hit by tornadoes just weeks ago endured high winds and flash flooding. A cold front expected tonight could complicate emergency response efforts. All 21 people who were stuck thousands of feet in the air on a tram in New Mexico overnight have been rescued. The passengers had been stuck overnight on the Sandia Peak aerial tramway overnight Friday because of icy conditions. The Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office says the last passenger was safely back on the ground late Saturday afternoon. Most of the passengers trapped on board were employees at a restaurant on top of the Sandia Mountains who were ending their shift Friday night. An ad for the tram line says on a normal day it takes passengers from Albuquerque to the 10,000-foot mountain crest in just 15 minutes. Officials are still searching for 3 missing people in Colorado after wildfires tore through almost 1,000 homes near Denver. The focus now on keeping people safe after temperatures dropped to dangerous levels today. Fox News correspondent Jeff Paul has the latest.
Colorado residents getting a closer look at the damage on Saturday after fast-moving wildfires burned hundreds of homes in the Denver suburbs, leaving several people missing and feared dead inside their burned-out homes.
Please be cautious as you return to your home and neighborhood. Also, please be prepared to see your community changed in ways that you did not expect, and take the time if you need it.
The smell of smoke was still in the air on Saturday. The arrival of freezing temperatures and nearly a foot of snow extinguished most of what was left from the flames, but it's not making it any easier on residents who lost everything.
The intuition was just that the moment it reaches the edge of town, they open up the fire hydrants and everything's good. And that just was completely wrong.
We were trying to stay hopeful, and then all of that came crashing down when we saw our house up in flames. So it was hard, but we're just glad that we're all safe.
The blaze burned more than 9 square miles in the span of just a few hours, breaking out in an area that's been in extreme drought conditions since the summer.
I'm shocked. And just how unbelievably fast it all happened.
I just feel bad for the people, and I mean, it kind of makes you want to choke up and cry. It's like Christmas just passed, and then, you know, everything that they went through is just gone.
President Biden has declared a major disaster here in Colorado. The cause of this fire remains under investigation. However, the sheriff says a tip has led them to obtain a search warrant for evidence. In Louisville, Colorado, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
Later on the KOAM News at 9, comments made by the president of China are causing concern in the United States.
We are still seeing plenty of blue on the map, showing winter weather advisory. Still trying to hold on as we venture deeper into the night and into our first Sunday of 2022. We had to readjust the map a little bit, but in general, if you're underneath the blue, the winter weather advisories will just continue on until the very latest of which at about 6 a.m. as we go into Sunday. But this is a more straightforward map. Whether you're under these wind chill advisories until 11 tomorrow morning or not, it is going to be cold and windy to start Sunday morning out. We'll dive deeper into the numbers in just a few. But this was, as advertised, how we started 2022 out. We went from a dry start to our New Year's Eve, and then New Year's Day, plenty of rain across much of the region. Then we've had some areas pick up on the wintry mix, and then afternoon and evening, a lot of cloud cover, some random areas of freezing drizzle, and some snow flurries. The latest look at the Skywatch Storm Tracker doesn't show a lot at first impressions, but even with that being the case, we've had some reports of snow flurries or very light, quick bursts of snow showers, especially around Joplin. Now we're just waiting to see how this last batch of moisture unfolds as it tries to continue east. At the very least, that will give us snow flurries and maybe a few bursts of light snow as that rotates in as we go throughout the overnight. But as far as roads go, we see the vast majority of the major roads look okay. Maybe some of the side roads, side streets might be a little bit tricky, certainly given how temperatures cratered throughout the day. Mid-60s New Year's Eve. We had midnight highs today in the upper 50s, and then as the temperatures fell, all the rain that the vast majority of us saw, this could lead to some of those side streets having a little bit of those issues. So that's something to keep in mind if you're going to be out and about late tonight. In the meantime, though, Joplin, you're cloudy, maybe seeing a few random snow flurries with temperatures around 15, but a north wind at 13 makes it feel like 1 degree outside, or 1 degree, if I want to be a little bit more grammatically and technically correct. 9 in Iola, 10 in Yates Center, so definitely cold in our northern and western counties and mainly mid-teens trying to hold on as around the Joplin area. But you factor in that north breeze that's been certainly kicking into gear. It already feels like 9 below in Iola, 7 in Columbus, 11 in Miami, -2 in Greenfield. And that just goes to show you how cold it's going to continue to stay as we go throughout the course of the night. So while we're dealing with the wintry side of the storm system, have a look at the deep south. Ahead of the Arctic front, they are dealing with another round of strong and potentially severe storms while we continue to see this high pressure build in and keeping the chill in place. We're just waiting for this last upper level low, the backside of this system, to finally push on out, but it is making its way across the Central Plains, and that's what's going to try to bring some of those random snow showers our way. But you can see how in general the future track wants some of these areas to pick up on very light snow or snow flurries, while the vast majority of us might be lucky if we can get a few flurries out of this. So if anything from this try to accumulate, I'm not looking at a big deal out of this. Maybe a dusting to about ½ an inch at worst, but temperatures from the single digits to about 10 around Joplin. But the skies, thankfully, with the departing system, will get brighter as we go throughout the day. But as far as temperatures go, 10 in the morning, 20 by noon, highs are 24 in Joplin. But that north wind to start the day out at 10 to 20, that's going to make it feel like it'll be anywhere between 0 and about 11 below before these numbers start to really improve as we go throughout the course of the day. Monday, we'll finally be back in at least the lower 40s with mostly sunny skies, but sticking with Doug's pattern, we're quiet Tuesday and Wednesday, but by Thursday, another quick wave wants to bring in some potential snow as we go into Thursday, and that also will bring another blast of colder air our way. So 24 tomorrow, 42 Monday, 46 Tuesday. Back in the 30s Wednesday, maybe 23 if we're lucky on Thursday with mostly cloudy skies and some random snow showers, Chris. But eventually we'll find our way back near 47 with another potential system to watch next weekend.
It's going to feel almost balmy by Tuesday compared to what we're experiencing right now.
I know, but at least these systems aren't giving us too much that we can't handle.
That's true. That's true, Nick. Thank you so much. Well, coming up in sports, something flying around out here. 6 local players are selected for this year's Kansas Shrine Bowl. Plus, Pitt State women aim for back-to-back wins. Danny Terzer's got the highlights next.
Kansas Shrine Bowl rosters were released today, and 6 local players have been selected to play in the game and will represent the East team this summer in Pittsburgh. Galena's Brett Sarwinski has been selected to play as a defensive back. He's the 3rd Sarwinski brother to represent Galena and play in the Shrine Bowl, and he's looking forward to the game being held at Carney Smith Stadium.
Oh, it's going to be awesome, you know. PJ and Nick, they both play here at Pitt State. I come up here every chance I get to watch them play, and, you know, we'll play on this field is going to be awesome, you know. I'll have support from my community. I know they'll be behind my back, and it's going to be a fun time.
Joining him on the roster, representing Frontenac, Cruz Blair will play on the line. Blair is a 3-time All-State player and helped lead the Raiders to a state runner-up finish this past season. Also on defense, Cody Schock from Columbus. Schock is an All-State player and is committed to Pitt State. Linebacker Brecken Troike from Girard, he had over 100 tackles this season and was an All-State selection. Colton Lacrone will represent Chanute, a first-team All-State defensive lineman, and Independence's Davis Merrick at kicker. The Southern women are off to a 7-3 start to the season. The Lions are back in action this afternoon for the first time since the Christmas break. On the road against Northwest, both teams 4-1 in conference play. Lions strike first. Maddie Stokes for 2. She finishes with a team-high 15 points plus 7 boards. Mallory McConkey with some big-time early shots. She knocks down the 3. Then she fights her way inside, gets the tough shot to go off the glass. Northwest up 19-9 after 1. McConkey stays rolling in the 3rd quarter. It's the Lions that go on a little run. Stokes here again. Then Brooke Stauffer takes the pass, hits the 3. Missouri Southern falls short though, 61-51. The Gorillas on the road this evening, looking to start the new year in the win column. Pittsburgh State hits the floor against Missouri Western. Gorillas in rhythm early. Jamie Jackson on the pump fake, drives and finishes with the right hand. Later in the first, Aaron Davis from the foul line. Pitt State goes up 8-4, but then turnovers plague the Gorillas. Western with 8 steals in the first half. Bree Budgets takes it to the other end. 16-11 Western after 1. In the second, Budgets swipes another one away. And it's a give and go with Connie Clark. Western goes up 15 at half. The Griffins go on to win 81-55. The men aim to kick off a 3-game road stretch with a win. First half, Pitt State asserting their dominance. Bobby Arthur Williams glides in, finishes with the left, his first game back. Then Williams again, give and go. Finger rolls in. Western calls a timeout. Pitt goes up 8. Later in the half, Western has the lead, then Williams backs down the defender. He finishes with a double-double, 24 points, 10 boards.
We'll tell you Monday morning
up by
at
9 at half. They get it done, 72-64.
Calls for a new
the final.
sofa.
The Kansas Jayhawks host George Mason today. The Jayhawks' Big 12 opener against TCU was postponed due to COVID, so this one was put together at the last minute. The Patriots up for the challenge, though. They played the 6th-ranked Jayhawks tightly, but Kansas pulls out the win 76-67. Big night for the Kansas bench. Jalen Coleman-Lands gets a team-high 20 points. Mitch Lightfoot adds 14. A Big 12 matchup, Oklahoma gets by Kansas State 71-69 this evening. Huge night for K-State's Mark Smith, 25.6 rebounds. Elijah Harkless leads the way for the Sooners with 21. We're back.
Made by the president of China are causing concern in the United States. The Chinese leader made it clear he expects his country to lead the world in less than 30 years. And he's also expecting China's reunification with Taiwan. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson takes a look.
Speaking from a shopping mall in Beijing on New Year's Eve, China's communist leader Xi Jinping says his country is well on its way to becoming the global leader by 2049, the 100th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. He also made this dubious claim about Taiwan.
The complete reunification of our motherland is an aspiration shared by the people on both sides of the Taiwan Strait.
Taiwan's president disagrees and warned Beijing against any, quote, military adventurism. In recent months, China launched nearly 150 warplanes near Taiwan, as two Navy aircraft carriers, Ronald Reagan and Carl Vinson, sailed together with British and Japanese carriers in the Western Pacific, which Beijing viewed as provocative. On one mission, China launched 5 bombers after 5 American congressmen visited Taiwan. Friday, China warned Walmart against removing products made in Xinjiang, a region where the U.S. government accuses China of running forced labor camps in the country's northwest, home to millions of Muslim minorities. In a statement, Beijing said, "To take down all products from a region without a valid reason hides an ulterior motive, reveals stupidity and short-sightedness, and will surely have its own bad consequences." In a recent interview, when asked to name the biggest national security challenges facing the U.S., Vice President Harris said our democracy and the climate. She did not mention China. The Washington Post reports China is ramping up its mining of social media, including Facebook and Twitter, in an effort to boost its propaganda efforts. In Washington, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
We'll be right back after this. Some brave souls plunged into freezing waters to celebrate the new year in Italy. The Daredevils dove off the Cavour Bridge into the Tiber River for the annual tradition in Rome. A crowd of spectators cheered as one by one the divers plummeted nearly 100 feet into the frigid water and swam to a boat where firefighters pulled them out. 4 divers took the plunge this year, with some showing off their unique style. The most famous and veteran diver, Maurizio Polmiola, known as Mr. OK, traditionally took his place for the final dive, saluting. That is something that I would not do. I don't think anybody out there in the 4 states would do, especially given how cold it is tonight. Sean, have you been outside? Yep. Are you aware of how cold it is?
Yep.
It's very cold.
Very cold.
So don't go outside. Don't dive into any water. It's not going to end well. Stay inside. Watch us. Watch some Netflix afterwards and just chill. And that is our time for now. We're going to see you back here tomorrow night at 9. And thanks for making us part of your night.